Welcome to episode 3 of Under the Moonlight, the Central Valley Chronicles, where local stories, hidden history, and a little bit of mystery come to life.
Whether you're here for the ghost stories, the legends, or the heart of California's Central Valley, we're so glad you found your way. I'm your host, Patty Shoy from pattyshomes.com.
And I'm Scott Sorensen from Sorensen Consulting. Together, we'll guide you through the stories that linger long after the sun goes down.
This is Under the Moonlight,
The Central Valley Chronicles.
Tonight's episode is titled Ghost on the River, the Delta King's Dark Secrets. Moored in the heart of Old Sacramento, the Delta King looks like a charming restored riverboat, but behind her polished wood and nostalgic charm lies a chilling past. Whispers of lost souls, unexplained sighting, and a Hollywood tragedy still cling to her decks. So grab a blanket, turn down the lights, and come aboard. The river is waiting. Before it became a floating hotel and wedding venue, the Delta King was a riverboat built for luxury and speed. Launched in 1927, she and her twin, the Delta Queen, were the pride of the Sacramento River, ferrying passengers between San Francisco and Sacramento in high society style. Velvet-lined saloon, mahogany staircases, jazz playing underneath the stars, but as with most things that shine, there was a shadow underneath. During the Prohibition era, it wasn't just tourists climbing aboard. Rumors swirled of secret deals, smuggling runs, and late-night quarrels gone wrong. Some say a man was stabbed on the lower deck after a gambling dispute and tossed into the river under cover of darkness. No police report, no justice, just another secret taken by the water. Then there's the tragedy that left the deepest scar, the death of Dorothy Millette, tied to one of Hollywood's darkest scandals. She boarded the Delta King in 1932 under a false name. Just a day later, she was gone, vanished into the river. Her body turned up miles downstream, and though it was ruled a suicide, the timing was eerie. Her lover, Paul Byrne, husband of the great Jean Harlow, had been found dead only days before in Beverly Hills. In 1932, Paul Byrne was a rising power player in the film industry, a respected director, screenwriter, and producer working with MGM Studios, and the man at the center of Hollywood's oldest scandals. Just 2 months after marrying Harlow, Paul Byrne was found dead in their Beverly Hills mansion. A single gunshot to the head, and his side, a cryptic note that read, "Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you." Police quickly ruled it a suicide, but the press and the public weren't convinced. Dorothy wasn't just Byrne's ex. She was, in fact, still legally his common-law wife. Fragile, reclusive, and living in a sanitarium. At the time, Dorothy quietly disappeared after news of Byrne's death broke. She boarded the Delta King under an assumed name. Just a day later, she was gone. Her body was pulled from the Sacramento River. Authorities called it suicide, but the timing, just days after Paul's death, made people wonder, was she fleeing guilt, haunted, or was she just silenced? We may never know what truly happened between Paul Byrne, Jean Harlow, and Dorothy Millette. But if Dorothy's spirit still walks the halls of the Delta King, perhaps she's waiting for someone to uncover the truth. People say Dorothy's spirit still lingers near the old staterooms. Sometimes she cries, sometimes she whispers, and sometimes she stares. And it's not just Dorothy. She's not listed on any passenger manifest, no photo, no last name, no family searching for her, and yet she's seen by more guests than almost any other spirit on board. Her name? Sarah. Staff on the Delta King describe her as a young girl, no more than 9 or 10 years old. She's always barefoot, Her dress is simple and old-fashioned, and her hair hangs in soft curls. She doesn't speak, she just appears in the corridors, on the stairs, sometimes peeking from behind cabin doors. And just when you notice her, she's gone. One night, a guest reported hearing soft knocks on her door. When she opened it, no one was there. But down the hall, she saw a little girl standing under the flickering light. She turned the corner. When the guest followed, the hallway was empty. Security footage showed nothing. Others claim they hear laughing in the dead of night, the sound of a ball bouncing. Once, a child's handprint appeared on the inside of a fogged mirror while the room was locked from the inside. No official records name a child named Sarah ever dying on the Delta King, but stories circulate. Some say she fell down the stairs during a stormy crossing in the 1930s. Others whisper she may not have died on the boat at all, but simply attached herself to the energy there, drawn in, left behind. Whether she's lost, curious, or just playing, Sarah remains the Delta King's most active and innocent spirit. But remember, ghosts don't always want to scare us. Sometimes they just don't want to be forgotten. Maybe the Delta King remembers, maybe the river never forgets, and the story's never truly silent. So ghosties, if you find yourself in Old Sacramento, take a stroll to the river's edge, stand beside the boat, look at her decks. Maybe you'll see Sarah or feel Dorothy brush past.
Not only does the Delta King have a stained history, but the whole Sacramento riverfront has a history of violence and death. This is no tourist tale. This is a history stained with blood. Let's start in 1908. The city was growing. The river was a vital artery for trade and travel. But on March 18th, that current carried something sinister. Antonio Capallo, an Italian immigrant new to Sacramento, lured fellow countryman Joseph Lerno down to the levee under the guise of friendship. There, Capallo attacked. Slashing repeatedly, he left Joseph's body mutilated by the riverside and fled. It didn't take long for the authorities to catch up to him. Capallo was found guilty and sentenced to hang at Folsom Prison. It was called one of the most atrocious murders in county history. Fast forward just a few years to 1911. Campers near Chico stumbled upon an abandoned wagon near the river. Inside, horror, blood-soaked bedding, a club, an axe, and charred human remains. Authorities determined the victim was a woman, burned, beaten, and mutilated beyond recognition. The case never solved. The killer was never caught. The Sacramento River held its secrets tight. In the spring of 1924, Sacramento celebrated its Golden Jubilee. Thousands lined the streets and gathered along the waterfront. But amid the joy, 22-year-old D.L. Ingram committed an unthinkable act. He killed a stranger in cold blood and dumped the body in the river. Days later, racked by guilt, he confessed while hiding out in Crescent City. He said he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat. He was haunted by what he had done. In March of 1931, a fisherman near Rio Vista pulled something from the water, a headless corpse. It was later identified as Santram Pandey, an Indian investigator researching the mysterious deaths of fellow immigrants. Authorities believed he was silenced, but the plot thickened. This month later, a second headless body was discovered in William Land Park. Then a severed head showed up in the American River. 3 pieces of a puzzle that have never been solved. Finally, in 1934, another mystery surfaced. A man in his 40s of Japanese descent was pulled from the waters near Sherman Island. His body showed signs of trauma, and his death was officially ruled a homicide. No suspect was ever named, and locals referred to it as the Delta Murder Mystery. Now, these are not ghost stories. These are real people, real crimes, and absolute evil. The Sacramento River, for all of its beauty, has long been a dumping ground for secrets, for sorrow, and for silence. Maybe that's why so many ghost stories cling to these docks. Perhaps the spirits aren't just restless. Maybe they're just waiting for justice. So many lost souls, so many stories never told, so many lives ended prematurely. So now, as this episode comes to a close, remember, not all who haunt these shores wear chains or moan in the night. Some leave behind blood, some have just vanished, and some will never be found at all. Some are in search of justice and peace, and occasionally there may be some in search of retribution. Only spirits know what they need to finally rest in peace.
Thank you for stepping into the shadows with us.
To our night shift heroes, may your shifts be peaceful and your hearts steady. And remember, the moonlight always guides you.
We'll meet again when the moonlight is just right. Good night.
Good night.